Welcome, my friend, to Next Level Change Success. I'm Therese Perez, a change strategist and practitioner with over 20 years of experience designing and delivering impactful change programs across various industries. In this podcast, I share real-world practical strategies to help you create and deliver positive change experiences, whether you're a leader, practitioner, or someone looking to bring new ways of working to life. In today's fast-paced world, change is constant. Here we focus on how you can put people at the centre of your change strategy, because people with a sense of purpose are the most important link in driving performance. So if you're ready to create meaningful change and achieve all the success that comes with it, keep listening. Together, let's change the conversation and take it to the next level. My name is Therese Perez, and I would like to acknowledge that I'm recording on Tharawal country and pay my respects to the traditional owners and custodians on the land on which I am recording, and to both elders past, present and emerging. So today, second episode for season 4, and I want to talk about the concept of some of us coming back from holidays, feeling very tapped out, coming back and getting ready and enthused about the new year. Certainly for the last week, a bit of a changing sentiment or different sentiments as you're going from holidays into a new work year. And I do remember being in the Northern Hemisphere when I worked in the Northern Hemisphere as well, where it can be a bit of a grind because you're in the middle of winter. Luckily, I am in Australia and Sydney, and it's beautiful weather, although a little bit rainy this week, but the gardens needed it. Certainly having a summer, which is fantastic, and sunshine. Not to rub it in, but definitely just to say that the challenges can still be real when you're coming off holidays and going back into the new year. No matter how much you love what you do, I'm pretty pumped about what I do, but it can be hard, and I want to acknowledge that it's the transition. It's change 101, going back into the habits again, getting back into the rhythm of things within a working week. But I did want to talk about today, because it's the second episode, we're in January, some people are still on holidays, and when people can feel a little bit of tension about going back to work, that could be for a number of reasons. Maybe that you're not really enjoying what you're doing. But one of the key things this year to consider is about how you might reinvent yourself this year, how you might do things a little bit differently. I always like to ask that question throughout January. What did I like last year? How I approached change, how I approached being a leader, how I approached even my virtual change manager and how we did things, and how can we do things differently this year, and who can I be in that, I think is a really important question. And I do talk about balance being a bit of an illusion, like we are constantly flowing, and sometimes you need to focus more on work, sometimes you focus more on family, sometimes you're focusing more on your health, and you tend to weave across all of these different areas of your life. So I'm not going to say, how do you maintain balance or how do you achieve balance, because it is a bit of an illusion. And certainly as a working mother, definitely it's an illusion. It's like this constant game of trade-offs more than anything. And sometimes work is the trade-off, sometimes home is the trade-off, sometimes my time is the trade-off, my focus is the trade-off. But these are just things that you navigate throughout the year. But below that is, well, who do I want to show up as? And what strengths do I have? And what do I really want to remember about myself on how I show up this year? A couple of things I will talk about the rhythm of this year. Obviously, change is inevitable. It doesn't matter what industry, work you do, life, change is constantly happening. So setting an intention at the beginning of the year is good. However, being flexible within that and being kind to yourself, important. Setting boundaries is really, really key as well, so that if you do have the intention that by the end of the year you want to not necessarily be burned out, but you want to be happy-tied, then that's a good intention to have. It will mean obviously considering your health and making sure that you are focusing on that in some way, shape or form at some stage. And then really looking at the small habits that you can integrate into your life to have that as the outcome. What I will encourage, if you've been down that burnout journey, and I've shared before, I have absolutely been there. Burnout City can be a destination as seedy as it sounds. It's not a great place to live and not even a great place to visit. So avoiding that and navigating your way through the map of life to avoid burnout, or to be able to pick up early when you're starting to head down that path and taking those turns heading towards Burnout City, maybe something that you might want to consider around how you're approaching 2025, especially if you've had that experience in the past. And burnout is an interesting concept. I have no doubt it will be a topic of conversation this year again, because our economic climate may be putting pressure on people. The work and the stress, how people perform under stress sometimes can be that they default to a more punitive behaviour, a more silo-based behaviour, which doesn't bode well for people in organisations, and certainly not if leaders default to that mode. Being able to handle stress throughout your year and what that looks like for you is something to unpack if you're finding that actually your fuse is short, that you haven't coped well, that you're overwhelmed, and certainly checkpointing in regularly throughout the year in that case is important. If you have had it in the past, the habit of, I can't trust anyone else to do it, I have to do it myself. I need to get this done. If your family's reflecting back to you that you don't have enough time for them, they may be feeling neglected. Whatever that looks like for you, if that story starts to play out again this year, please pause. Take a moment to pause, take a moment to reflect. If you think this is a recurring pattern, consider what you might do around building different muscles to be able to deal with it in a more effective way. And that might be, actually, I need to focus more on my health to be able to then deal with the stress within my work environment. It may be, I need to change my work environment because the stress and the pressure, it's too toxic for me. And you may choose to go to a different workplace, but I do encourage you to consider what type of workplace you want to go into, that you're taking the pause, doing some healing in some way so that you can go into another workplace in a healthier state. Little habits, and I love the book Atomic Habits, little habits to start to build into your daily routines. Understand what your cue is for the behaviours that you have displayed in the past, what some of your triggers have been, to then undertake and avoid when that trigger comes up again, replace it with a different behaviour, I think is really key. I like to talk about a little bit of this around the world of tech that we live in and the unplugging concept, because being able to fully unplug regularly is really key. And if you're working in the world of change, if you're working in the world of programs where everything's really action oriented, if you've got some big projects or programs that you're needing to get done or delivered, or even if your organization is going to go through major change this year, really, really important to start to integrate little habits where you might put your phone in a drawer for the first half of the day, for example, rather than have it on the table, on the desk that you're working at, checking your emails only during certain times of the day versus being a bit of a slave to Microsoft Outlook and your inbox. Important. Thinking about the way that you focus and become effective versus busy. So focusing on the key tasks versus feeling overwhelmed trying to do everything. And then also considering, if you're a leader, how you're empowering your team more and more through planning, better feedback conversations, coaching conversations, versus having to get heavily involved in what your team's doing. Might be a totally different approach that you want to take to leadership so that your life isn't as stressful as it has been. These things make a difference, and at the core of them all is you and your belief systems that are driving your behaviors and the things that you might want to do a little bit differently. Also the muscles that you want to build, and I say muscles, I'm not talking about physical muscles. It's about how you may discern things differently, how you might leverage and ask for help more than you have before. Certainly we have strengths and default behaviors that we feel comfortable in. So maybe this is part of getting out of your comfort zone and taking little steps, as I said, and creating little habits to change it up and to see how it's going to mean that you are going to achieve a better flow between the different areas of your life. I'm going to talk a little bit about this more and more throughout the year, so this won't be the only episode I talk about how you're approaching this year, the habits that you're bringing in, but I do ask you to take some action. And off the back of this, what I suggest is that you write down 3 habits that you want to create in your life this year. And I don't want them to be big. So I don't want it to be, I'm going to go to the gym 3 days a week. I'm going to, It might be that I'm going to drink a glass of water when I have my coffees in the morning. Or it might be, I'm going to 15 minutes a day, I'm going to put my phone into the drawer to begin with. And then after 15 minutes, you might build up to half an hour. You might build up to an hour, just so that you can really test where your attention is going through the day, or where you might be getting distracted and therefore not effective. And then as a result of not being effective, you feel overwhelmed. So little habits that you feel, just 3 little habits that you may want to start to nudge in your life this year, that's going to have you show up differently and is going to be able to help you manage stress in your life a little bit better. I will share my 3. If you jump onto social media this week, if you jump onto Instagram, we have the My Virtual Change Manager. I'm on Instagram and on Facebook, so I'll be sharing some of the smaller habits that I have started to put into play. And also because I have a significant birthday this year, I am really, this year was kind of a bit of a if not now, when year for me. And so showing up with more joy, definitely, having more creative fun is really, really important, and really connecting in again with my family and friends who some I've lost contact with. These are just some things that I'm looking to regenerate this year. It's a bit of a, how do I get out there a bit more this year? And you're going to see this, obviously. I'm doing the podcast weekly. You're going to see more of me with webinar series and things that you'll hear about in a minute. So these are things that I'm, and only little ways to begin with, and just build the momentum in those areas so they become a habit. And it's a bit of a play, and that's how you should really look at these habits, is as a playful experiment to see how, when you show up that way, how does the world shift and gel around you? And you shouldn't take it too seriously. I think that's really important. It's good to have a playful energy around what you might try. And I'm a big trier of like something different often. I tend to try things that probably drives my other half crazy, but I definitely like to try out new things, new ways of showing up to see what happens in life, because that's part of the creative fun that you can have. Think about it. Think about an area of life you might want to have a new habit created, have a bit of fun, something that might be causing you a bit of stress, and how you might be able to alleviate that for yourself this year. We definitely want to have this flow happening. As I said, balance is a bit of an illusion sometimes, so it's definitely about having flow and having fun in 2025. So have a think about that, because as I said, change is inevitable. So definitely it's going to happen. So part of being able to manage stress through this is actually about how you're going to build your change resilience. And small little habits can help that journey for you this year. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Hi, it's Therese here again. I just wanted to mention that we have the Change Intelligence webinar series happening this year, and you don't want to miss out on any of the topics that we're going to cover. It's a live webinar series talking about change resilience, change frameworks, connected thinking, how you can change your mindset and the mindset of others, behavioural change and what that can offer. If you don't want to miss out, then come to myvirtualchangemajor.com. Just simply register and we'll let you know when the next webinars are happening so that you can come along. Spaces are limited, so be sure to jump across and register as soon as you can, and you'll see some of the topics that we're going to cover. I hope to see you there and to continue to work with you to create positive change experiences.